Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're doing things a little differently. Instead of our usual deep dive, we're actually going to share some stories with you. And these aren't just any stories. They're genuinely unsettling accounts. They come from the world of schools, places that seem so ordinary, but they reveal some unexpected darkness, some really chilling encounters. We've gathered these from experiences shared by former students, and honestly, they might make you look at your own past, or maybe even your present, in a whole new way.
And what's really striking about them is how they sort of pull back the curtain. They show these hidden lives, these sometimes terrifying secrets that can just lurk beneath the surface, even in everyday places with people we think we know. It's a reminder, really.
Yeah, exactly. The mundane hiding. Well, something else entirely. Okay, so let's get into the first one. This takes us back to the 80s. A kind of shady Boston suburb. Our narrator, he describes himself as a rebellious kid. School. He called it a joke. Had this real disdain for authority, already involved in petty crime, that sort of thing. But there was this one teacher, Mr. Metzger. Apparently nobody messed with him. Always clean-shaven, thinning gray hair, combed over, the type, just commanded respect. And the rumors were that he was an ex-Marine. Got a Silver Star.
For combat, presumably.
Yeah, for killing 10 enemy soldiers, supposedly. That was the story going around. So one night, this kid and his friends, they're looking for cash, and they decide, pretty bold move, to burglarize Mr. Metzger's house. Just this unassuming stucco place on the edge of Jamaica Plain. Someone in the car was convinced Metzger was dealing auto parts on the side, had loads of cash stashed. They get into the garage, no car parts, nothing.
So the story was already shaky.
Right, but they press on, go into the main house. Our guy creeps into Metzger's office.
Abyss.
This is where it gets really unsettling. The room's old, but it's incredibly neat, orderly. On the wall, there's this ragged flag, red and blue, single yellow star, and framed newspaper clippings, hard to read in the dark, but he makes out one word, Vietnam.
Okay, so the Marine story maybe had some truth to it.
Seems like it, but then he opens a desk drawer, finds a Colt, .45, cold metal, and next to it, like a necklace made of these bumpy, wrinkled shapes haphazardly strung together. That's how he described it. Reaches in, touches one, it feels textured, desiccated, and this cold dread just hits him. The hairs on his neck stand up, he realizes.
Oh no.
They're human ears.
Wow, the psychological shock of that discovery, especially in that context. Finding it in the home of a teacher, someone seen as respectable, it really speaks to how extreme experiences like combat can just fundamentally change someone. You see this compartmentalization, right, where someone can see normal function day to day, but they're holding on to these incredibly dark elements from their past.
Yeah. It completely shatters that simple war hero image. There's often something much more disturbing underneath.
Absolutely. And he's just filled with terror. Pure terror. He starts backing away, hears floorboards creaking. Closer. Looks out the window, sees his friends running. Full sprint. They obviously saw something that spooked them badly.
So he's alone now.
Completely alone. And then Mr. Metzger appears in the doorway, blocking his escape. He remembers Metzger just breathing heavily through his nostrils, like ragged with fury, his face twisted by wrath, his eyes, those pale blue eyes, just seeing with a predatory glare. Metzger lunges. They struggle, grunting. Metzger's hands, rough, callous, trying to grab his neck.
Like he knew exactly what he was doing.
Totally. Practiced. Instinctual almost. The kid's bandana slips off. Metzger sees his face. Panic. Pure panic. He headbutts him hard, right in the eye socket. Breaks free. And just runs, convinced he's going to hear the Colt .45 go off behind him.
But it doesn't. No. The shot never came. He catches up to his friends later. They're terrified. They just talk about the thing in the TV room. One guy, pale, shaking, just says it was made of hair, human hair.
Human hair. Good grief.
Yeah. And they wouldn't say anything more. Never spoke about the burglary again. Our narrator, well, he dropped out, got into more crime, did some time, 6 months. But it turned him around. Got clean, quiet family life now. But then, just last weekend, 30 years later, he's at Home Depot, sees this elderly man, thinks he recognizes him.
It couldn't be.
It was Metzger. Old, withered. But Metzger recognized him too, gave him this almost wolfish grin, same predatory glare in his eyes, and he just says chillingly, "I never forget a face."
Wow. Implying he knew. He always knew.
Exactly. That dark knowledge. Still there.
Okay.
So from that, that hidden darkness, let's shift gears. Different kind of unsettling story now. This one's from the UK, a secondary school. Our narrator is just starting, shy 11-year-old. The headmaster is this Dr. Sylvester, described as cold, emotionless, made the whole school experience feel like, well, an ordeal. Then one day, there's a fire drill. Routine stuff, right. But pretty quickly, it's clear this isn't routine. There's actual smoke. You can smell it.
Oh, no.
It gets more intense. And he sees the teachers' faces just etched with terror so pure.
Yeah.
They realize this is real. This is dangerous. But the absolute most terrifying image, he describes seeing a figure emerge from the far wing of the school, which was really burning now. The figure was engulfed in flame, a walking inferno, and the cries, he said the cries were burned up before they could leave charred lips.
My goodness. For children to witness that, the impact must be devastating. It just completely shatters that sense of safety, doesn't it? Your view of adults, of the school.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
Right.
It confronts them with this raw horror, this idea that the people meant to protect them are vulnerable or worse.
The official story they gave was an electrical fault. Simple explanation. But later, the narrator overhears his parents talking in hushed tones. Secret. Something they didn't want him to know. It actually took 10 years for the truth to come out. He's older, at a family meal, and his parents finally tell him. The fire. It wasn't an accident at all.
So Sylvester.
Dr. Sylvester. His real name was Bernard Lee. Before he was a headmaster, he'd started an affair, wanted out of his family life. So one night, while his wife and kids were asleep, he doused their house in petrol, set it on fire.
Oh, God.
Unlike the school kids, his family didn't escape the school fire. It was him trying to do it again, trying to escape another life he didn't want. It just failed that time.
That is profoundly disturbing. Bernard Lee, it's almost like that phrase, the banality of evil. Someone in a position of such trust, a headmaster, harboring that kind of darkness, committing such acts. It really makes you question the faces people show the world, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How easily that trust can be misplaced. It's a chilling thought. The real monsters aren't always obvious. Sometimes they're right there, in plain sight.
Okay, let's move to another teacher. Different kind of unsettling, Mr. Cole, high school history teacher. The narrator said his appearance just screamed defeated, broken, ragged ponytail, handlebar mustache, always had a cigarette going. And his whole outlook, just incredibly bleak. Philosophical pessimism, I guess. He believed human consciousness was a tragic mistake, that people have no right to exist. He said we operate under false pretenses of having a self, call the townspeople consciously ignorant.
That's, extreme pessimism, almost nihilistic, viewing existence itself as flawed. And you often find, don't you, that this kind of extreme view doesn't just come from nowhere. It often stems from, some deep personal trauma.
Exactly.
A wound so deep it warps how you see everything. It can almost be a defense mechanism, rejecting the value of life because the pain is too much.
And that was exactly it for Mr. Cole, the reason. He'd lost his young daughter, hit by a drunk driver. And he confessed this really disturbing sense of gratitude that she was spared, as he put it. Spared the pain of life, died painless, happy, innocent. He actually said having children was arrogant and cruel, condemning a soul to this meat grinder of existence.
Gosh, that's heartbreaking, but also deeply disturbing logic.
And his view on death, he thought people who die late just endure too much damage. He believed the dead, in their final moments, they find relief. They finally understand that life. It was just a dream about being a person, a dream you can finally stop having.
It really shows how tragedy can just twist everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Your core beliefs about reality, existence, that gratitude for his daughter's death, it's a mind trying to cope with unimaginable pain by flipping the script.
Yeah.
Saying life itself is the real suffering.
Right.
It turns everything inside out. Purpose, joy, meaning. All of it.
And the narrator, he said even now, sometimes, in his own darker moments, he wonders if Mr. Cole had a point, if he was right. Okay, next up. Mr. Shenko, physics teacher, big guy, over 6 foot, from Eastern Europe. Known for being pretty emotionless, almost barking when he spoke. So one day in class, some jock makes a dumb, disrespectful comment about a power plant. Mr. Shenko just snaps his chalk, locks the classroom door, says, "Collective punishment." Then his voice gets unnervingly soft and he asks the class, "Have you ever seen your friends die?"
Oh, wow. That's intense.
Yeah, and he starts telling them his story. April 25th, 1986, the day, he said, the entire world ended for my town. His town was Pripyat.
Chernobyl.
Exactly. He was a nuclear physics student home from Moscow. The Chernobyl plant exploded. He felt the shockwave, saw the pillar of smoke, and then this hideous blue glow lighting up the sky from the ionizing radiation. And disturbingly, he said he found it beautiful, like looking at the face of God.
That's a fascinating reaction. That mix of horror and awe. It's almost like facing something so huge, so terrifyingly powerful, it becomes sublime in a dark way. Maybe that hideous blue glow was like seeing the raw power of the universe, totally beyond human control. A terrible beauty.
He went on to describe the aftermath, the government cover-up, the mishandling. They brought entertainers in to try and calm dying villagers.
Yeah.
He described seeing this beautiful ballerina bleeding from her nose, her ears, her hair and teeth falling out, while children gave her flowers that were literally glowing from the radiation.
Unimaginable horror.
And the liquidators, 30,000 of them sent in to clean up. He called them the condemned.
Yeah.
And his fury, just raw fury. He directs it at the jock, asks him if he knows what it's like to tell a friend to walk towards his own painful death. Asks if he thinks seeing children being burned from the inside out is a joke. The jock's terrified, just shakes his head. Then Shenko just unlocks the door, murmurs, "Class dismissed."
That story just hits so hard, the human cost. Not just deaths, but the burden on survivors. Shenko's rage. It feels like it comes from this deep place of moral injury, you know?
Yeah.
The trauma of witnessing things that violate your fundamental sense of right and wrong.
Yeah.
It clearly reshaped him, made him feel compelled to teach this incredibly harsh lesson about consequences, about ignorance.
Okay, from that raw, world-changing event, let's look at a different kind of disturbance. More internal, maybe. This teacher, Mr. Witzbold, he was a substitute. Took over an English class, announced they wouldn't be doing English, they'd be studying biology, promised it wouldn't be boring. He looked well-groomed, but the narrator says there was just something off about him, and this unnervingly wide smile. He starts sharing facts, but like morbid facts with real enthusiasm, how the body only lasts 3 minutes without oxygen, or 30 to 40 seconds in space. And he keeps saying, isn't that fascinating?
Oh.
And then he talks about body temperature, just 2 degrees change, hypothermia, or if it goes up, the brain begins to cook.
It's something really disturbing about a teacher finding actual joy in that kind of macabre information, especially sharing it with kids.
Right.
It points to something, well, maybe sadistic or just deeply disturbed. A fascination with vulnerability, with suffering, using knowledge almost like a weapon in the classroom. And then he does this demonstration, makes a really shy girl sit at the front of the class, and he graphically describes decapitation. Claims her body would take a few panic steps, her eyes would continue to send images, so she could, quote, watch the entire fascinating performance unfold.
That's horrific psychological torture.
And when she tries to leave, he stops her. Where do you think you're going, my dear? I'm not done with you yet.
Oh.
He finishes the lesson by describing scaphism.
Scaphism. I think I've heard of that. Awful.
Yeah, ancient Persian execution. Victim trapped, force-fed milk and honey until they get horrific diarrhea. Then more milk and honey poured on them to attract insects. They just get overwhelmed, die slowly from dehydration, starvation, infection, just agony.
The psychological terror of just hearing that described with that kind of glee in a classroom, it's a massive violation of trust. It's not teaching, it's inflicting distress. The impact on those kids, fear, nightmares, probably shattered their sense of safety completely. Finally, the bell rings. The kids are just immobilized by the torturous words. Frozen. Parents complained, obviously. There was an inquiry. Some kids were even pulled out of the school after that. Okay, moving from that. Deliberate cruelty. Something more mysterious, maybe. Mr. Lennon, history teacher, he had this theory about why the Romans stopped their expansion in Scotland, didn't conquer Caledonia. He had hinted it was because of something that exists in the dark, damp woodlands. Something ancient. So the class goes on a field trip, Edinburgh, then a hike into this place called Maybe Forest, wild place, untamed. The narrator immediately felt it was deeply unnerving. That night, camping, they hear this sound echoing through the trees. A deep, otherworldly howl.
Oh, lovely. Camping trip turning into a horror movie.
Pretty much. Then a friend runs up. Frantic, Mr. Lennon's gone. Vanished from his tent. Our narrator searches, finds a clearing. And in it, a big, shallow pit filled with bones. Hundreds, if not thousands, of human remains. Old bones, Roman artifacts mixed in, all tangled beneath these twisted, deformed pine tree roots. And kneeling there is Mr. Lennon. Shirtless, his torso covered in crude, ritualistic images, tattoos, whispering, praying, maybe, in this guttural, ancient-sounding language. And the howls are getting louder, closer.
Wow. So Lennon wasn't just telling stories. He was involved somehow. This taps into that idea of ancient forces, right? Things predating us, hidden realities, his actions, the tattoos, the language. It suggests he's some kind of guardian, maybe protecting against whatever's out there.
The narrator is terrified, runs up, grabs Mr. Lennon's shoulder, shakes him, screaming at him to wake up, and as soon as Lennon snaps out of his trance, the howls just stop, abruptly. Silence.
So his ritual, his prayer, it worked. It was protective magic. Sounds like he genuinely saved them, placated or repelled whatever that thing was. Sometimes the hero is the one who understands these hidden things, not the one with obvious powers.
The students, they never spoke about it again. An unspoken agreement. Some apparently needed treatment for PTSD afterwards. Flashbacks, nightmares. Understandable.
Absolutely. A deeply traumatic event.
But the narrator, despite it all, he firmly believes Mr. Lennon saved our souls that night. Okay, one final story. This one involves a book. Takes place in an old Gothic-looking school library. Student finds this book, The King in Yellow. Weird cover. Mustard yellow. With a strange pale yellow symbol on it. Just looking at the text inside, tiny, cryptic, gives him a headache. He's intrigued, but also creeped out. So he asks his English teacher, Mr. Brady, who is usually pretty approachable, Brady's reaction. Total shift. He freezes up, is really stern, warns the kid, if you ever find a copy of that specific book, you inform me immediately.
Ooh, the forbidden book trope.
Okay.
Always chilling.
Definitely. But the kid, he ignores the warning, goes back later to read it. Library's deserted, reads these unsettling lines. Strange is the night where black stars rise. Says his skull felt like it would rupture. He's trembling, eyes feel swollen, felt like the book was reading him, gets violently sick, vomits in the bathroom.
Yeah, that resonates with that whole idea of forbidden knowledge, doesn't it? Like in Lovecraft's work. Books that aren't just ink on paper, but conduits for, madness or some kind of malevolent influence.
Right.
The idea that certain knowledge itself can be corrupting, dangerous for the human mind to handle.
So he goes back to the spot where he left the book,
Yeah.
and it's gone.
Someone took it.
Apparently. Weeks later, Mark Blackwell, the only other student who was in the library that night, he brutally murders his parents with a claw hammer. Police said the wounds were so bad they initially thought it was gunshots.
Oh my God. Link to the book.
Seems implied. Years pass. Graduation day. The narrator sees Mr. Brady one last time. Brady pulls him aside, solemnly says he knows the book was found, and he tells the narrator his life's mission now is to search for that book, to stop it from harming anyone else. Then he just walks out of the school. Forever. And the final twist. News came recently. Mr. Brady committed suicide. A detective confirmed among Brady's things they found an index of dangerous books. The King in Yellow was listed. And the book itself. It was missing when they found his body.
Wow. That's chilling. The book consumed him too, in the end. It highlights how these secrets, these dark things, can just persist, can't they? On people, spread their influence. Brady tried to contain it, but it seems like the cycle just continues. The book is out there again, looking for its next reader.
Yeah, and bringing all these stories together, it really paints a disquieting picture, doesn't it? That darkness. It's not always out there in the shadows. Sometimes it's right here, in familiar places, schools, homes, inside people we think we know. Makes you question things.
It absolutely does. And if you think about the bigger picture, it really poses a question for all of us, doesn't it? What other unsettling truths might just be hiding right beneath the surface of our normal everyday lives, just waiting for someone to, look a little bit closer, see past the mundane.
Definitely something to think about. We hope these accounts have, giving you something to ponder, maybe kept you up tonight. Thanks for joining us for this slightly different deep dive into the unsettling. We'll see you next time.